Hi, Tasha. I am so excited to have you on this podcast to talk about messaging.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I was part of your Write Like a Millionaire, and
Mhm.
it really transformed the way that really the trust that I have in my own voice. And I was in your container while I was launching my Sovereign Business Accelerator. And I felt like just having that support really helped me get the 9 or 10 people that are in that program now. So it's like,
Mhm.
that was really amazing. So thank you. And
Oh,
you
you're
know
welcome.
what you're talking about. So that's why I wanted to have you here on the podcast.
Yay.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that that happened for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you're the people that you mostly serve are like spiritual entrepreneurs. Is that right?
Spiritual, transformational, definitely soul led, heart driven, not necessarily the straight up business like strategy people. It's
Yeah.
more of the woo people, the people who rely on their spirituality to kind of lead them, guide them, their relationship with the universe, God's source, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Manifesting, that they believe in the magic. But the problem I found is that there's so much on that side that it's not enough of the strategy piece and not enough of the practical piece to actually get them consistent results. So like
Yeah.
it's a hit or miss. Like sometimes, it's the content is really good and people, engaging and they're buying, and then sometimes it's not. And they're like, I don't know what's going on. Spirit told me to post this and I did, and it didn't do anything. Or I'm getting a lot of engagement. People engage with me, but no, and people aren't buying. And I'm like, well, people aren't buying because it's not clear what it is they're getting, So it's
Mhm.
people like that, basically.
Yeah, and it's like I didn't really understand. Like I only had like a vague understanding of how important messaging was until about like a year ago.
Okay.
And I've been writing for a while because I know that writing is not my strong point, like especially writing in this particular way to
Mhm.
sell. It's a different writing than creative writing or any other type of writing. But sales writing is really about
Yeah.
communicating your value, communicating
Mhm.
how you deliver the results, talking
Exactly.
about the results themselves, right? Can you share more about that?
Yeah, sales writing for sales in particular is different from writing, say, for like if you're trying to tell a story or if you're doing something literary or if you're writing for work, because a lot of us come from those, corporate or therapy, backgrounds where we had to write for sure. But that's not the kind of writing you got to do for sales. For sales, it's direct, it's concise, to the point, it's clear,
Yes.
um it's snazzy, but not to the point where it's like I don't understand what you're talking about.
Right, right. It's not
you
clever
know
in that way. Yeah.
yeah, it's not clever in that sense. It's not necessarily also about sounding like you're so smart, because a lot of us come from the space where we have to sound like we're intelligent in order to be thought of as competent. It's not that. You really need to write on a sixth grade level so
Yeah.
anybody can look at the writing and understand exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. What do
Yeah.
you say to the people who are like, I don't want to talk to the basic bitches? Like, I don't want to talk basic bitch because my work is too complex. It is too deep to talk about it in that way.
My response is always, do you want people to buy or not? Like it's as simple as that. Because it's like, yeah, like we're all intelligent and stuff like that. But when people are scrolling on social media, they're what do you call it? They're just,
Dissociated.
yeah, and then they're just breezing over the content. They're not trying to get some deep philosophical,
Right.
whatever. It's not like they're reading a book,
Yeah.
right? Like if you read
Right.
a book, you expect, these deep, whatever. But if you're on social media, you're just scrolling.
Right.
But
It's
what
the
you're trying
level
to
of
do,
presence is not there, right?
exactly, that level of presence is not there. They're just scrolling, they're just, grazing over the content, and then they're going to notice something that stands out.
Yes.
That's the thing. Like when I get people to write headlines and stuff like that, it's what stands out and then what speaks to them. When it's going to speak their language so that they're going to be like, oh, this is me. Let me stop my scroll and read it.
Yeah.
Because that's the first step, is getting people to actually read the post. Because people, like sometimes I start reading a post and it's boring and I'm like, keep scrolling. Let me keep scrolling. This is not it. And then there's some posts that stand out because they're funny or and they're not speaking like this intellectual stuff. They're talking about everyday bullshit.
Yeah. And people, we're all sort of a little bit like narcissistic in that we want to be seen. We want to feel witnessed in some way. And so like what often grabs our attention is what you said, like, that's me, right? We want to experience ourselves mirrored in somebody else's content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And people always say that what's in it for them. That's what people are asking. If your stuff is not answering that question, then people do not give a shit and they will just move on. They won't. And nobody's going to tell you, oh, I don't care about this. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody's going to, unless it's a friend or like an accountability partner, or hopefully your coach will be honest with you, be like, girl, this is not it. But regular people are not going to say anything. They're just going to move on by, and they just won't buy. And you won't know why. You'll think, oh, it's all these things. But what it really usually is, I find, is that people aren't clear on what they're getting. They're not clear on the value. Like they don't know why they need it. You know what I'm saying? They don't understand how it's linked to tangible results that they can actually see, touch, feel, experience in their real everyday life.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times I see language that's super airy fairy, that's super, woo, just super abstract. What does this actually mean?
Yeah.
What will people be able to be, do, or have as a result of your program that they can actually experience? Are they gonna make more money? Are they gonna have better relationships? Are they gonna be able to get a better job where they're making more money and they're more fulfilled? Are they gonna be able to finally either start their business or, grow it and scale it so they're making more money? Like, what are they gonna be able to do?
Yeah. And even then, Tasha, like, even when you say the things, you're going to be able to get a better job. Even that, like,
that's not enough.
Right. That's not enough. Right? You can get even more specific.
I was just giving an example, but that in and of itself is not enough, because people are going to be like, okay, how, what kind of job am I going to be able to get? Like, so specificity is another thing that I really and work with clients on a lot. It's like, get down deep into the details. Like, how is this going to affect them day to day? And that's another thing, because when you are working with spiritual entrepreneurs, a lot of times we like to bypass stuff. Like to bypass stuff. We don't want to talk about the problem too much because, oh my God, we don't want to be pro-marketing, God forbid. You know what I'm saying?
Because it feels kind of mean to poke at the pain points. No, because I think that there's a part of us that I know that it's happened to me where I feel it kind of almost like mean, like pointing out. But it's but it's important.
If you don't say anything about the pain, then the person doesn't know that you relate to them and that you understand what they're actually going through.
Yeah, it's really about
everybody experiences pain. I don't care how much money they have. I don't care where they are. Everybody experiences some sort of discomfort. Yeah,
exactly. And just naming it, right? It doesn't have to be pokey, but just to name it and say, this is what it is, and this is why it's happening, and this is the solution, and here are the results. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. What do you think about the, in terms of human design? You have a really strong background in human design. what is it that you recommend for content creation or messaging for each of the different types?
Well, for manifestors, I recommend that the copy and content be very powerful, because their presence is naturally powerful. And what I find with manifestors is that oftentimes they pull back quite a bit on their power, because they don't want to overwhelm people. They don't want to turn people off. They don't want to repel people, and they want everybody to like them. And I'm like, no, everybody's not going to like you. Some people just are not going to like you. Like, that's just human nature. That's just the way it is. There's nothing you can really do about it. Playing small is not going to like this person, make this person like you anymore. For generators, manifesting generators, I feel like there needs to be a lot of play involved in the posts. Need to be fun. They need to be catchy. They need to be something that people want to respond to. So you get a lot of response from your audience, and you don't feel like you're in an echo chamber, just talking to yourself. So let yourself let it be fun, and let it be in response. Like, don't overthink it. If nothing's flowing right now, go play, go do something, interesting. And, that's going to get your creative juices flowing. And then before you know it, things are going to be happening for you to respond to, that you're going to want to write about.
This really is more like about pleasure here a little bit.
Yeah. Pleasure, play, enjoying life, and then responding to what comes through, whether it be internally or externally. And then for projectors, it's really about shining the light. I call it lighthouse energy. So you're showing up like a lighthouse. It's, there, it's standing, it's majestic. It's not trying to do anything to get extra attention. It just shines its bright light. And when people see it, who are drawn to it, they come and they explore. That's how you market as a projector. So you show up, but not from a space of, oh my God, I need to get attention. I need to, be more than all these other people. No, it's from a place of knowing that you're naturally magnetic. When you turn on your light as a projector, it's inevitable that the invitations, that all the people are going to show up. And I've also been saying to invite people to things, because that kind of gets the juices, the ball rolling to a certain extent, instead of you feeling like you're
inviting.
Invite, like you actually saying, I'm inviting you to this, or I'm having this thing next week, I invite you to come, the people who feel called, kind of thing.
Yeah. And why is that in particular for projectors?
Well, because their strategy in human design is to wait, quote unquote, for invitations. And so I always say, nobody wants to wait for anything. Who wants to wait? Like, that's not fun. You know what I'm saying? So for them, it's like, invite people. For generators, manifesting generators, it's asking people to respond, or giving people something to respond to, because then it gets the ball rolling, and then the response, it just becomes a cyclical thing, and it just keeps going without you necessarily having to keep, doing it and waiting yourself.
Yeah.
I would say for reflectors, the main thing for reflectors is to do two things. It's, for one, be a mirror to the collective, because all their centers are open, so they're basically designed to be a mirror in all the spaces. But also tap into your uniqueness. Be as unique as possible. It's kind of a duality where it's like, on the one hand, because your centers are open, it's easy for them to absorb and amplify. But what you have to become is basically a walking mirror. So you're not taking in and absorbing all the things from the outside world. You're just showing them who they are. You know what I'm saying? While at the same time continuing to tap into your own uniqueness. So it kind of takes this phenomenon where you're observing, but from a distance. You know what I'm saying? So you can then reflect it back to the collective, but you're not absorbing, because then you end up sounding and acting like everybody else.
Got it. Okay. Okay. That's clear. That's clear. Because I was wondering, like, okay, well, how does that work? but yeah, to not absorb, it's almost
It's,
like you go online, you post, you get the hell out, right?
yeah. And
You don't be,
if you're scrolling, it's like at arm's length. You're observing, you
yes,
know? So you're kind of separate from the thing that you're looking at. It's
yeah.
more of a like reflective thing. Like, okay, this is what I'm going to reflect on because this is what I'm seeing in the collective. And
Mhm,
I've seen reflectors do that really well. Some of them do it well, and then some of them, like, I mean, of course, it takes some deconditioning and stuff like that
mhm.
to really get to that space.
Yeah. And how did you get into writing and writing specifically for this group of people? Like what sparked?
Um, hmm. I've always been a writer.
Yeah.
Oh, since I was a child, I've always been a writer since at least middle school. I, always received praise, and awards and stuff for my writing ability. When I came into the online space, I took a lot of like marketing classes and, all this stuff. And one of the things I was always good at was storytelling, like telling stories and then getting people to come and do, like one time I wrote this story. This is when I was still doing stuff for speech pathologists. This was way in the beginning, probably around 2016. I went into this Facebook group and I told a story about how I was in Dubai and, all this stuff, right? And I invited people to sign up for calls. 50 people from that one post signed up for those calls.
Wow.
So then when that happened, I was like, maybe it's something I'm good at, but I didn't really, pay any.
What were the calls about?
It was to help them. I think that's what I think at that time I was doing something about helping them have a, just more fulfilling career as an
Yeah.
SLP. And it was like a breakthrough session where I was going to tell you how, to do that or to start doing that, or what was missing from your process where you didn't have that already, stuff like that. And so after that, I still, meandered on, continued doing that. Then I went into life coaching. I did a life coach training program, and I did life coaching for a little while, but what I ended up wanting to do at the end of that program was to help people with the embodiment piece and
Yeah.
shifting their being, but as it related to marketing and them showing up in the online space.
Yes.
And so when I did that for about a year or so, that didn't really take off. Like, I don't think people understood. First of all, embodiment was a
It was a
new thing at that
yeah.
time. Now it's a buzzword, but back then nobody was talking about embodiment. Everybody was into mindset back then.
Right, right.
The somatic healing and embodiment piece it wasn't popular yet.
Yeah.
And so I don't think people understood the connection between the somatic embodiment and the showing up in the online space.
Right. Body and business. Yes.
Yeah. And then so in late 2019 going to 2020, by then I had gotten into human design. I was like, okay, well, let's see if I can use this with clients, if it'll make a difference. And that's when I stepped fully into the marketing space and started to really get into, how to write content, how to, whatever. And then in 2022, I just decided to concentrate on the writing rather than doing all of the marketing, because I'm a writer, I'm a copywriter. So that's kind of how the evolution of how everything happened.
Okay. Yeah, it's so interesting, sort of like all of these pieces that get woven together and how you shift, like you over time, you sort of land on the thing that is like, ooh, that is my sweet spot. That is like what I love to do or what I'm best at doing, like my zone of genius or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. And yeah, one thing, the embodiment piece, how do you teach that? What does that mean for you?
Well, for me, it means like being fully present in your body, feeling whatever you feel, and then allowing it to process through, and then using it oftentimes as a mechanism for creativity in writing. A lot of times we're taught to run away from our emotions in this society. And so especially as women, I feel like oftentimes we're ridiculed for being too emotional and all this stuff. But really, it's like the emotions can be a driving force for the creativity and for the writing to come through. And so for me, it's embodiment. And then there's the part of the message piece being embodied where you're actually walking your talk.
Yeah.
You're actually living this thing that you're teaching. So it's like you're a walking embodiment of your message. This is
Yes.
who you are. And people
Right.
can see that this is an extension of who you are because of the examples that you're setting
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
way that you're handling different things as it comes through your life and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah. And that's something that you can't wrap enough words around, because that is just about a presence, right?
Yeah.
That's sort of a being piece.
Mhm.
And people, that's where the congruence comes in, right? I talk a
Yeah.
lot about congruence and about having like the words match the energy. And
Mhm.
yeah, and if the words are showing one thing and the energy is another, like that just creates confusion for people, or there's like a trust piece that isn't quite fully there for folks. Would you agree with
Mhm. Yeah,
that? Yeah.
definitely. Trust is a big part of the whole situation. It's almost impossible, in my opinion, to do anything well without the trust in yourself, in the universe, source, that also lives within you.
Yeah.
Um, it's just impossible almost to do anything. Trusting in the process is another thing too. Like if okay, we're launch is the week 2 and people haven't bought yet. But we're trusting in the process. We're still showing up. We're still putting stuff out there. We're still, because I've had people buy the last 2 to 3 days of a launch. And if
Mhm.
I had quit midway through, which is what I used to do back in the day, I wouldn't have made those sales.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had people buy after I said the cart was closed.
What is up with
It's
that?
something about urgency that makes people just get off their ass and be like, oh, I know you said you were closed, but can I please, I'm sorry, I missed the deadline. Can I please join? Now, I've been talking about this for 5 weeks and you just sat there and looked and didn't do anything. Then like the last day, I'm getting all these sales, or the day after or 2 days after, and people are like, oh my God, I'm sorry, I missed the deadline. Can you please let me join this time?
I think that's so hilarious, because I feel like people used to like sign up like at the last moment, and now people are signing like days, weeks, even a month after the cart has closed.
Yes.
Yeah, what is that about?
I don't know. I'm like, I've been talking about this for weeks. Like, what do you mean? You want to come now and join? Why? What made you not join when you first saw it and you knew it was the thing for you?
Yeah. It's an
But
phenomenon.
that's what I tell people. It's like, you really honestly could close the cart and then just continue to say, just continue to talk about it.
Yeah. I've seen other people do that. Like cart closes and they talk about it for 3 more weeks and people are still signing up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I even had that. I had just this week, I had somebody sign up for the Sovereign Business Accelerator, and I haven't talked about it in over a month. And
Oh, wow.
somebody dropped into my DMs and they were like, can I still sign up? And I was like, I was kind of like, well, do you want to join in the next round? Because we're already a month in. And she's like, no, I need to do this now. And I was like, okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it was
Where were you like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago? But that's fine. I'm not angry. I'm not upset about it. I just let them know what we've already started. So you might have to play catch up, in some of the
right.
modules, whatever. But other than that, I don't worry. Let people
It's
join.
fascinating, like people's behavior around sales. Like, some people will say like, oh, well, we're sort of in a different economical place, like than we were, a couple of years ago prior to the pandemic, right? The pandemic has had an impact on people's finances and
Mhm.
where people choose to invest their money, all of that kind of stuff, right? That all affects how you show up for online sales. What would you suggest to people? Like, what has been your solution around that? Or has it affected you at all? What do you suggest to people who say this has made it, they're feeling affected by it, let's say?
Well, I have been offering more accessible programs, more accessible pricing, extended payment plans, stuff like that. I mean, I like doing stuff like that. So like I've been doing more of that. Like if it's a higher ticket thing, then I let them break down payments, over an extended period of time so they can still have access. Yeah, that's mainly it. And then what I have really like honed in on for myself is that people buy what they want. As long as you convey the value, people are still going to buy it.
Yeah.
Period. Even if they gotta go, take out a loan, if they have to get the most extended payment plan option you have, like they're gonna do what they need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, if you've made it clear that the results that they're gonna get are worth the money.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that, I've stressed the most is that the results be worth the money. Because otherwise people are like, why am I doing this? Like money is, which I don't believe money is ever scarce, but people think that like, oh, money is scarce and this is my hard-earned money.
Right.
And I need to, whatever, I need to spend it wisely. You need to make it clear why they should spend it on you, on your program.
Right. And that takes a certain amount of like, ego of being able to
Yeah.
convey, right? Because oftentimes I know that I tend not to talk about like, well, here's all the things I bring to the table, right? I don't necessarily come in with that energy, even though kind of I know it for myself, but to talk about it and like, keep telling people over and over and over and again, like why they should hire you versus somebody else who does something similar, right? Like that can be edgy for some people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever experience, Tasha, like, some of the stuff people talk about feeling either self-conscious or having some internal challenges showing up like in sort of in the full embodiment of your energy? Have you ever sort of experienced difficulty around that, or does that just come naturally to you?
I think it's something I definitely have to work on over the years. Because coming from a like solid professional background, you are taught to hold back on everything, on your emotions, on just every single thing in the workplace, because it's seen as a weakness. So then when you come into the online space, people are telling you, oh, you need to be authentic and you need to tell all the stuff and you need to show up, and you're like, how? What do you mean? Like, I don't know how to do that because I'm used to turning off that part of myself when I come to work.
Yes.
So when I step into professional mode, professional means basically straight-laced, non-feeling, non-emotional, just, calculating, strategic, like that's what it means. It doesn't mean anything else other than that.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a challenge, and it feels like, the online space is sort of increasingly welcome of like pretty outrageous stuff. Like I feel like throughout the pandemic, like we've really unmasked, there's sort of the superficiality of social media and sort of like showing up in a certain way that is very like, I guess curated, for lack of a better word, and like that is increasingly sort of like being pulled off, and just like the authenticity piece and just being like, all right, here it is, here are all the things, here are the feelings, the humanity, and like really raw vulnerability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you feel like some human design types are better equipped for that kind of like sharing versus other types, or what would you say?
No, I think every type has their own conditioning. So it just depends, like they show up differently depending on like the circumstances. Like for example, like I said before, manifestors have a tendency to hold back, whereas generators have a tendency to want to show up like manifestors and then make everything happen and do, all these things and all this stuff. And then on top of the fact that they have this conditioning to have a sacral center that's defined and allows them to do all this work. So they end up overworking, overdoing, overthinking, pushing, forcing, all that stuff. They're the ones who will want to send direct messages in the, in the DMs, pitching to people, even though it doesn't feel good, but they're like, I have to take action. I have to do something. And manifestors are the opposite. Manifestors want to go ask for feedback and stuff. And I'm like, why are y'all doing this? Like this, you don't have to do this. Just tell the people what you want to do and then go do it. That's all you have to do. So it's the conditioning oftentimes have them show up differently. It's more so that than I think we all hold back because of society, and expectations, added on to it cultural agreements and expectations. When you're dealing with, marginalized people, we oftentimes have cultural beliefs and, pressure from our community and our families, and we have societal pressure. So we have to prove to the outside world that we're good enough, and then to our families and stuff, we have to meet their standards, whatever they are,
Yeah. How did that show up for you?
Now I feel like it's something that I've really worked through, even though sometimes I still have stuff around. Like as a Black woman, like, is it possible for me to do all these things that I see all these other people doing, most of whom don't look like me?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, can I really, do like, say a Melanie and Lair and have 8-9-figure business? You know what I'm saying? Like, can I really do that?
Yeah.
Can I really have an audience of hundreds of thousands of people who really like me and who are just willing to buy anything I put out there, regardless of whether sometimes she doesn't even say what she's offering and people still buying it. You know what I'm saying? Like, is it possible for me, somebody who looks like me?
Right.
Not only am I Black, I'm a woman, I'm queer, I'm fat, like all of these things. Like, is it possible for me to show up like that and have that kind of success?
Yeah.
So there's still that I work through at varying levels, but a lot of the cultural expectations, I feel like I've worked through a lot of that. The expectation to be 100% on point, to never show your weakness, to never show your vulnerability, to be the strong Black woman. You have to represent our community well, so you can't make any mistakes, that kind of thing. You can't air the family laundry. So talking about the trauma and all the stuff that happened when you were a kid, that's a no. You're not supposed to do that. What else? If if you make a lot of money, then you have to work hard. You know what I'm saying? There's no way to make money other than that.
Right.
And the more money you want to make, the harder you have to work.
Right. So it's almost like a disincentivizing.
Yeah. Because like, if you want to increase your salary, you're just going to have to work harder, and you're already tired. So you're like, how can I work any harder than I've already been working? I'm already working hard. Like, I'm not lazy. I'm doing what I need to do.
Right.
What else is there, for me? I mean, I was raised, believing that, for one, education is the cornerstone of success. If you don't have, the credentials, if you don't have the training, you cannot be successful, because they don't let us have anything. Even when we have all the credentials, we still are questioned for our competence.
Yes. Right.
So I was raised with that, number one. So went to school, have master's degree, have all the credentials behind my name that I needed to do the work that I was doing. It still wasn't good enough, because when I went to work, then I had to become this shell of a person. Like, I couldn't really be who I feel like, I was created to be. And it was just a lot. Like, and it took me a long time when I came into the space to work through that, not bragging on yourself. That's another thing, being humble.
Totally. Yes. The humility.
Yes, be humble. How dare you think you're better than anybody else? How dare you tell people? You would wait till other people, because my uncle, my goddaughter is a dancer. And so she was telling him how, good she was.
Ah,
And he told her, he said, no, don't say that about yourself. You have to wait for other people to tell you. Wait for other people to tell you that you're good. And I said, no, we don't wait for nobody to tell us. They might not ever say anything. On. Some people won't give you your praise just cause. And you're
yeah.
here waiting, thinking, well, I must not be good because so and so didn't say that I was good enough.
Talk about externalizing. Yeah.
And and he kind of looked at me strangely, and I was like, that's the reason why Black entrepreneurs and other people of color, entrepreneurs on the social medias, that's why we don't brag on ourselves, or we don't do it enough, because we were told when we were children that you got to wait for somebody else to say something nice about you. And you better not brag too much, because either, to be honest, the white people are going to be jealous and possibly do something to you and your family, or people in your own community are going to see you and feel some sort of way about it, because they don't have access to the same stuff.
Right. So either way, you're going to get taken down.
Yeah, pretty much. And so it's like that protective mechanism. It took me a long time to work through.
That's a big one, Tasha, because that's so that's deep, that's collective, that is woof. Yeah.
Yeah. And then being in a space where people talk about money openly, where people brag on their income. That's almost unheard of in the Black community. If you making money, you better keep it to yourself. You don't tell nobody you made how much money. Again, either the white folks are going to be upset about it and they're going to try to come do something to you, or somebody in your own community is going to see, that you have more than they have, and they may try to come take it from you, or they'll treat you funny and make you think that something's wrong with you because you have more money than they got.
Right.
And it's taken me a long time, even to this day. I hesitate, because I have family members still on my Facebook page. I hesitate to talk openly about my salary and how much money I make. And if I had a good month, I don't want to talk about that. If I had a bad month, I don't want to talk about that either. I do it anyway, but I'm just saying there's still that nervousness around, celebrating when things are really good, and just being honest and forthright about how much income I bring in, because there you go bragging again.
Yeah, or there are cousins coming out of the woodwork wanting
asking you for money. Yes, that too, because then there's this cultural expectation that you're supposed to carry the load of the family and the community.
Right. You're supposed to distribute.
You don't want to, because it's kind of like this thing where, in the Black community, you have, in most Black families, you have maybe 1 or 2, 3 people at the most who've made it, quote unquote. Right. Everybody else is just struggling and they're doing everyday people things. You got 1 or 2 people who made it, and then everybody knows that those are the wealthy families, are well off, or at least middle class. You know what I'm saying? And then that's who they're gonna come to for. Oh, can I borrow? I'm having a hard time. I couldn't pay my light bill, whatever.
Right.
And it's only those few people that are expected. Well, and if you say no, if you're like, no, I can't. I can't take care of everybody. Then people feel like, oh, well, she's forgotten where she came from.
Right. Then you're a betrayer.
Better than me? You think you're better than me because you got this good job and this XXX on this nice house, kind of thing. How dare you tell me no?
Right. Yeah, and just thinking about it, on you're talking about family, right? And you're talking about that, about attachment, about when we flourish, we lose people.
Yes, that too.
We're alone, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's it is, there's a lot of
because people commiserate on misery.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's interesting that people don't commiserate around happiness and joy and celebration. People commiserate around misery.
Yeah.
So like when you're complaining, when you're bad off, or when you're struggling, or when you're notice you'll have all these people around you supporting you, talking up to you. As soon as you start to get, it starts to get much better, and you start to do things differently, and people kind of, they act funny. And that's, that's something that I've experienced in my own life. Like, I mean, even with really close family members, just our relationship is not the same because I'm not in the same position that I was. And their perception of me is that I've changed and that I don't care, about the family anymore, and I'm selfish and, all this stuff. And really, it's not that. I've had to change in order to become the person that I am today.
Yes.
If I had stayed the same, I wouldn't be here.
Right.
I wouldn't be I wouldn't be in New Orleans living in my own apartment. I living solely off my business. I don't have a 9 to 5. I don't have a part-time. I don't drive Uber. I don't do anything. I wouldn't be able to do that if I had remained the same person that I had been before.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Right.
And I used to say, oh, well, I'm the one who changed, not them. But now I'm like, well, shit, I had to change in order for me to become the person I am today.
Right. And just thinking about it from a spiritual perspective, like evolution is inevitable. Like that is what our soul wants us. And like people who stay the same, it's like they're going against that sort of that.
There are people who take pride in saying the same. Like I have a friend who always said, well, yeah, me and so said that even if we won the lottery, we won $100 million, we would stay the same. We would not change. And I said, well, you would lose that money real quick because the who you are right now is not in alignment with receiving $100 million.
Exactly. That's why people lose $100 million.
That's the reason why the lottery people don't keep their money oftentimes, because they're not energetically in alignment with being the person who can receive that much money and keep it, hold on to it, invest it, use it to actually improve your life over a long period of time.
Right.
And that's what people don't understand. They're like, oh, well, let me just, I just need money. I just need to make more money. No, like you need to align yourself energetically with receiving. Like I had this other friend, actually we're dating, and she was saying, I don't let people take care of me. I just never done that. Like if I don't have my own money, I don't go anywhere. And I was like, well, I mean, why are you opposed, to somebody treating you? Like what if a friend was like, hey, let's go to dinner. It's my treat. She said, I wouldn't go if I didn't have my own money. I said, so you're not open to receiving. Right. You can't receive treats and, support from other people, stuff like that. You cannot receive money, period. I was like, so that's something you got to work on, because and the money will come oftentimes through the support before it shows up in the actual physical. It'll show up in the form of somebody taking you out to dinner, or somebody gifting you a program or something like that. It's going to show up that way at first when you're trying to work on manifesting, before it actually shows up in the physical in your bank account. Yes. And so if you're turning that away, you're telling the universe, no, thank you, I don't want it, I don't need it. And then the universe is like, I'm confused. They are asking me for help, asking me for abundance. I'm sending them all these people who are offering to do these nice things for them, and they're saying no. They keep telling the people, no, thank you, I don't need that. I got it. I can do it myself. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, girl, no, please open yourself up to receiving. Yes. Thank you. That is so important. Yes, and the support, that the money often comes first through support, right? And really like nurturing those relationships, right? As part of marketing, part of sales, like it's all tied in, interconnected. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for this conversation. I want to let listeners know where they can find you, where they can access your work. Well, I'm largely active on Facebook. very active there, pretty much daily are on there posting, sharing, engaging with people, whatever, because I like it. I also am active on TikTok. So I put TikToks out, which I try to do it daily, but and always, I mean, I batch them and then forget to put them out. So but usually a couple of times a week at least, you'll see a new video from me on there. And I'm trying to grow my TikTok community. So, you can join me on there. And it's on Facebook, it's Tasha Christie. And you'll see like copywriter, human design expert, whatever. And then on TikTok, it's at I think it's at Tasha Christie _. It's my username on there.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
And how is it? Do you have an online community? Right?
I don't have, I mean, I have a membership.
Yes, a membership.
Yeah, I have a membership where you can come and get supported with your messaging, marketing, human design, and energetics on a monthly basis. And we meet like live 3 times a month. There's a live masterclass, 2 coaching calls, bi-weekly content review threads where you can drop a post in the comments and I will give you personalized feedback. I actually do go and read every post and give you feedback on every single post.
Amazing.
And then you get access to a content library. I'm actually about to open up this, I guess I would call it kind of like a school, but it's going to be called Human Design Back to Basics. And it's going to be a series of classes that are going to be releasing underneath that umbrella. But the people in the membership will have access to all of that, or you can buy the classes separately or like in a bundle or something like that.
Yeah.
So I will be doing that within the next couple of months. I'm actually laying the groundwork for it now and doing different things to put it together. But that'll be like a growing evergreen school for marketing by design, the way I teach it. And you'll be able to come in there, like I said, almost like how some of the other human design people have like these libraries of courses and stuff like that. You can just go and buy them. That's kind of what I wanted to do because I feel like people enjoy how I teach it so much. And I want it to be like an evergreen library where people can just buy it and it's available all the time. So
yes, I love that. And you are also promoting
Millionaire. Yes. That is my signature group program, copy coaching for transformational and spiritual entrepreneurs who are ready to just blow the roof off of their conversion, make more sales, get a lot more engagement, and really position themselves as a household name in their industry. So
that's awesome. All right. Yes.
It's on pre-sale right now.
Okay.
The pre-sale price is $888, paid in full. There's a 3-month payment plan and a 10-part like bi-weekly payment plan. So it's a lot of options if you need, and I'm thinking about possibly doing a monthly extended payment plan, maybe, I don't know. But in either way, it'll be accessible for you. And at most the price will go up to $1111 this time around.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not gonna raise it past that for this round.
And that's the program that I was part of, and that was so excellent. And of course, like being part of your membership, like you were like I was able to access like other goodies in there. So totally worth it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much, Tasha.
You're welcome.
I really appreciated this conversation.
Yeah, me too. It's been great.
All right.